Pilipinas! Game ka na ba for today's video?
Ito, ang #1 podcast sa Pilipinas na ngayon pa lamang ilalabas.
Ang podcast na walang inaatrasan, walang inuurungan, tunay na serbisyo, dogshowan at kabaklaan lamang.
Dahil sa mga akla,
Angat at buhay ng lahat.
Shot puno!
uy, anong oras na?
OMG?
OMG?
G! Oh My Globalization with Jello, Marko, and Angelo. At ayan ka na nga, ako, ang cutie pie na dinadayo all the way from the land of samgyupsalan, mga nagtatayuhang kapehan at tunay kapampangan. Ako, si Jello Serrano. At sino ka naman dyan, Mare?
Ayan, Mare. Ako nga pala ang main, only, at lead vocal ng girl group na never nag-debut. Ako lang to, Beb! Marko Soliman! At sino ka naman dyan, te?
Hey! This is what dreams are made of. Ako nga ang kilalang sumisingkot ng Tajin dahil ako lamang ang nagmamay-ari ng bansang Tunisia, Malaysia, Philippines. Kilala rin bilang Mother Ru ng ABCOM 2A. Ako si Angelo Vasallo from the land of Lubao, Pampanga. At ito ang...
Oh My Globalization! Brought to you by Wala. Kami lang.
Tama. Oh.
Ayan, mga Mare, welcome sa ating first ever pilot episode ng OMG, or also known as Oh My Globalization. Ayan, magandang
Pilot
gabi.
episode pero walang airplane? Tama ba yun? Parang mali siya.
Totoo, like, pilot episode? Paano naging pilot episode? Hindi naman ito airline still.
I think, naiwanan yung pilot. Tayo
Iwanan. May baggage ba?
I think lumubog sa Bermuda Triangle.
Hindi tayo magbe-Bermuda for today's video.
Hindi, Bermuda grass lang.
Bermuda grass, ganon. Singot-singot. Woo!
Bawal yan.
Pero
bawal yan.
mga Mare, syempre dahil usaping tayo, airlines tayo, pilot airplane, no? Kung magkakaroon kayo ng airline, anong ipapangalan nyo at bakit? Oo. Ikaw, Mama Jello.
Ako? Well, first of all, thank you for asking me that wonderful question. Pero
Deserve a wonderful answer, gano'n.
Yeah, sige, eto na. In 3, 2, 1. Siguro, ang pangalan ng aking airlines ay... baka nakikinig siya in this episode, pero sige, wag na lang. Siguro, na lang, Pampanga Pacific.
Ay, wow, bakit?
Pacific.
Taray.
Pampanga Pacific. Siyempre, Cebu lang yung meron.
Dapat may Pampanga dun, diba?
Inclusive dapat tayo.
Tama.
Siyempre, asa Kapampangan. Kaya nga, diba, kasama siya sa aking spiel na pinagmamalaki ko talaga na isa akong tunay na native na Kapampangan. So,
basta Kapampangan,
ikaw na Mamaru!
Sige, si Mama Ru muna. Go.
Okay.
I think kung i-connect mo siya sa aking spill from minutes before, I think ang aking airlines would be the unexceptional Tajin Airways. Dahil pag suminghot ka ng Tajin, you're up there with God. Amen.
Amen lang. Ayan. Very timely kasi Holy Week.
Diba? O ikaw naman, Mare, anong airlines mo?
Ako, kung siguro, papipiliin ako sa airline na pangalan. Hindi na ako mag-iisip ng bago kasi marami ng airlines, ba't di na lang natin gamitin, di ba? Pero kung ako siguro, Philippine Airlines, Mare.
Philippine Airlines?
Bankrupt na sila. Wala din akong pera eh. Hindi pwede yun. Charing lang po. Opo.
God! Uy, baka
Pero yun, di ba? Usapang global, international, di ba? Bakit nga ba global? Kita rin naman sa episode, podcast episode natin rather, na about globalization, di ba? So ano bang pag-uusapan natin this pilot episode, mga mare?
Ayun, actually, sige, Mama Ru, ikaw muna.
Sige. I think in terms of global, siguro pag-usapan natin global Spotify top 50.
Actually, no, oo.
Diba? Speaking of global Spotify top 50, singit na natin. Congratulations, Miss Nadine Lustre.
Tama!
Hi, Miss Nadine!
Yes.
Hi, Miss Future President! Oo, sure ako nakikinig siya sa podcast na to. I'm
Tama
sure
yan!
Hi, Miss Nadine! Actually, message niya ako kanina. Fan daw siya.
Ay, weh! Talaga?
So, hi, Miss Nadine. Gigess ka namin sa episode 3. So, abangan nyo.
Abangan guys, oo. Hindi pero mare, di ba nga? Usaping global, no? Ano ba sa tingin nyo yung ibig sabihin ng global or globalization or something to that effect?
Very very pang-matalino na
Oo
tanong.
Parang hindi ko relate.
Pero hindi natin branding.
Hindi natin branding yun
Pero of course, ang ang pinaka-topic, actually not only in this pilot episode, but to the whole, sa mga future episodes din, is all about the one and only globalization. And of course, halata naman sa ating like globalization, di ba? Kami ng globalization. Pero of course, bilang hindi naman katalinuhan din ako, pero i-define natin yan sa layman's term. Pero according naman sa ating resident patroller na si Man Egger, ang globalization daw is yung increase ng interconnectedness. Ano daw? And interdependence of peoples and countries. So, ayun naman pala ang keme ng ating resident patroller.
Dahil puro interconnectedness, interdependence. Kala ko may intersection ng Rosario na napakatagal.
San Fernando.
Oo, sa San Fernando yung napakatagal doon.
Shout-out po, no?
Oo, shout-out po sa intersection dyan. Hindi pero tama, no? Sa globalization, syempre, meron tayong pagkakaroon ng global community na tinatawag. Global village, no? Na na-mention. Yung term. Global village in a sense na yung mga bagay-bagay, like for example, yung economics, yung politics, yung social and cultural traditions, ganyan, na pag-i-intertwine through globalization and globalization concepts and ideas, di ba? Mama Ru, tingin mo, ano yung globalization for you?
Siguro para sa akin, redundant. Siguro para sa akin.
Para sa akin, for me to me, ganyan.
Yes. From Kanye to Kanye.
Go!
Sa tingin ko, I think in terms of globalization, there is actually a good thing about it kasi like we experience different cultures of different states na it's actually very beautiful if you're going to look at it kasi, one day you may be eating Pinoy food, the next day kumakain ka ng wee baguette or something. Diba? Like ng baguette.
Grabe naman.
Kumbaga like there's this form of inclusivity then at the same time na we recognize different states, different cultures, and dito na papasok yung political awareness natin, especially cultural awareness that we need to have in this time and age. Ayun.
Totoo. Actually, to lang din, in connection dun sa sinabi ni Mama Ru na yung
interconnectedness.
Yung wee baguette.
Go.
Kasi ako naman, ang keme ko naman ng globalization. Actually, why not we start with our own story or experience of globalization? So,
ano ba natin ma-relate sa atin? Yung
mga personal
mas mag-gets natin.
Oo, lalo na yung ating mga listeners in this podcast. Kaya ayan. So, ako na, in connection dun sa sinabi ni Mama, mga wee baguette, yung mga
French, gano'n, Italian.
Yung mga, we get to experience other culture na kahit na nasa Pinas ka, you get to enjoy Italian food, Korean food, American food, and also, get to listen to other people like sa Western, like lalo na sina Ariana Grande. Ayan, very very prominent yung Western culture sa media. For example, yung influence ng Hollywood, ng mga films, ganyan, and yung mga, like yung Marvel, just look at Marvel right now, kung gaano kalaki yung influence niya sa buong mundo is, of course, brought to you by globalization.
Oh my! Globalization.
Totoo, di ba? Pero ako, okay, from a personal perspective, siguro yung aking personal experience in terms of globalization is that ako kasi fan kasi ako ng K-pop. Like, hindi naman ever since, pero siguro mga lately, like, since high school ako, naging fan talaga ako ng K-pop. Actually, before, parang hindi ako masyadong fan na parang up until now na bumibili na talaga ako ng mga K-pop merch, ganon. So, parang...
Baga kung nasa bar ka, parang dati, Tugs, are you new here? Gano'n. Pero ngayon, ikaw rin nag-tubig.
Ganon lang. Pero ngayon, ganon dati.
Tama po.
Ganon natin. Pa how you like that na.
Oo, ganon. How you like that.
Saka
spaghetti.
Shoutout sa Espa.
Nabes, we love you. Ganyan.
Nabes.
So, going back.
Ayun, going back nga, ang aking is yung K-pop talaga. Kasi as a Pinoy, sino bang akalain na magiging fan ako ng, hello, ang layo na ng narating ng K-pop talaga. Like, of course, with the help of media. And of course, globalization in that very essence talaga.
Kasi wave na tinatawag.
Oo, like actually, hindi lang talaga sa K-pop. Like, including yung buong culture nila. Like, food, K-dramas, like, di ba, hello.
Angeles pa nga lang, di ba? Merong sanggitalan. May Korean town.
May Korean town. Like, sino akalain na nasa sa Korean town, I mean sa Angeles, sa Pampanga, mayroong Korean town, and kapag pumunta ka doon, para ka talaga nasa Korea kasi parang left and right yung mga Korean stores, mga samgyupsalan, gayo. 'Di ba? Parang ang galing lang talaga ng globalization kasi like ako, kahit na nasa Pilipinas ako, I get to experience kung ano yung kayang i-offer ng Korean culture and ng kanilang ng Korea in general. Ganon. So, ayun, actually very, very thankful sa function ng globalization. Kasi nga, I get to experience K-pop and so many more about Korean culture. Or Korean culture in general. Ayo, yun lang naman ang
Mare,
Oh, yes, Mare.
With regards, syempre sa Korean culture, ganyan, how does it affect you? And, kumbaga, parang, paano mo siya nakikita? Like, in any lens, for example, cultural, ayun, na-mention mo na nga na parang, ang daming mga ganap na related sa Korea na napupunta dito sa Pilipinas and hindi man natin namalayan na ganito yung effect sa atin, no? Na-mention mo na yung sa cultural. How about yung sa political man lang or like sa social interaction with people? How do you see it? Ganyan. Tapos does it affect you, your lifestyle, ganon? May mga ganon bang instances sa'yo na nagkaroon ng ganong effect yung K-culture?
Actually, meron. To be exact, regarding dun sa kasi ngayon, kapag nanonood ako ng Korean drama, of course, para isang aspect yun ng mediascape, yung kay Appa Duray na isa siyang dimension ng mediascape. And at the same time, isa din siyang socio-cultural kasi through watching K-drama, I get to absorb yung mga ideologies ng mga nasa Korea. And more so, ngayon, unti-unti, na-apply ko siya sa lifestyle ko. Like, yung mga simple words ng Korean language, like for instance, yung anyong, ganon, Ano pa ba yung mga... Kunyari, kung muna nasa Korea, feel ko, kapag nasa Korea ako, magsusurvive ako, kunyari, ihina ako. Ganito yung sasabihin.
Go, sample.
Jogyo, wajong shule sa'yo?
Di mo kaya?
Gano'n. So, para na-apply ko na din siya sa lifestyle ko kasi minsan, kapag sumasagot ako sa parents ko, like for instance, minsan napapa-Korean na ako, like sabi ko,
affected,
So, kuya, gusto mo ba yung hotdog for breakfast? Aning?
Ani, oh? Ani,
oh? O kaya kapag may crush ako, saranghe, opa.
Tama po.
So, diba, napakalaki talaga ng impact. As in, like, not just sa culture, but of course...
Even sa microscale, no? Microscope.
Yeah.
Kahit sa family lang nakakapag-interact ka. Korean, diba?
Korean. Bali mo, dual citizen na ako, te.
Mag-apply ka na for dual citizenship.
So, kung nakikinig man ngayon ng Korean Embassy, annyeonghaseyo. Ayun lang naman ang akin, Mare. So, ikaw naman, Mare. Ano naman yung personal story or experience mo ng globalization?
Ayun. So, ako naman, no, Dear Charo. Hindi, it's more of like something na recently ko lang talagang na-realize na, oh my gosh, this is an effect of globalization, no? Kasi, kasi pre-pandemic, hindi talaga kasi ako like super yung parang mas prefer ko yung face-to-face interaction talaga.
Yeah.
Pero because of the pandemic, of course, we were forced to go into social media, to go online. Yeah. And of course, as a social butterfly or something, no?
Butterfly, metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, tama. And I just can't bring myself to become isolated na parang wala akong nakakausap. So, middle of the pandemic, mga around, like, siguro pa 2021 na yun, I entered the world of Discord. So, alam ko sa mga bagets, no, very known ang Discord.
Mga wiwi baget.
Mga wiwi baget. Tama. Ayun, so like, I entered the world of Discord, I entered servers, and then dun sa server na meron akong sinalihan, I met a lot of people online from different places talaga, coming from different cultures, different ideologies, different lifestyles, ganon. So, I met some of most actually, of my friends now na I do get to hang out with a lot. From that server, no, meron akong friend from California, ganyan, yung mga ganon na parang...
California king bed ko, John.
Meron akong friends from California, international, like meron akong friends from California, meron akong friends from Belgium, ganyan. So, meron din friends from other parts of the Philippines, pero mostly may mga ganong friends ako na taga-ibang bansa talaga, no? And syempre, we get to converse a lot, ganyan. We get to share ideas, we get to share our stories. And during those conversations, we really get to know people, how they're raised, how they are brought about by their own culture, their own traditions. I remember this one time, I was talking to my friend, yung nga, taga-California. Parang na-mention niya how Americans in general are when it comes to hygiene, yung mga gano'n, na parang na parang makikita mo, buti na lang talaga Pinoy ako kasi may bidet.
Hindi na
na parang buti na lang may bidet. Buti na lang medyo tropical tayo at naliligo ako ng 3 times a day. Yung mga gano'n, na parang sa Amerika daw, na parang hindi daw gano'n.
Proud to be Pinoy.
Oo, proud to be Pinoy.
Hashtag.
Tama. So, yung mga gano'n, tas parang when it comes naman yung sa friend ko naman sa Belgium, super active and super ganda ng politics nila. Like, makakompare mo siya how sa Philippines, no, na not to offend anyone, pero like sa Philippines, how the government is like really, really screwed, gano'n, na parang nakikita mo talaga yung differences when it comes to how countries and different places are brought about, ganyan. And it's because of joining a server, as simple as that, na parang dun ko nalaman. And of course, like, this affected me kasi parang knowing how para yung mga conversations namin ng mga friends ko from different places, no, I get to know about more situations. More specifically, for example, yung recent na ongoing tension between Russia and Ukraine, di ba? Na parang
oo nga.
most of the tawag dito, yung mga news na nakikita natin westernized, ganyan, or like popularized by Western media sa US, and nasasabi yun ng friend ko, parang, alam mo yung mga ganung bagay na nakaka-stress kasi like, even if we're miles apart, we get to experience the same fear. Yung mga ganung bagay. And even if we're not related to Russia or Ukraine, the Philippines gets to experience the tension,
the effects,
of these tension, di ba? Na parang, for example, ang pinaka problema sa Russia and Ukraine, yung oil.
Yeah, ang taas ng gas
Pilipinas.
Grabe.
Bakit, di ba? Na parang, doon pa lang nakikita mo bakit tayo interconnected talaga. Even in problems, no? Na parang kahit feeling mo far apart siya, it's actually interconnected more than we think it is.
Yeah.
So, and I realized that just because of going into a server. So like, who would have thought, di ba? Na parang ganun yung mangyayari.
Diba? Ang galing.
Galing, di ba? So like, the power of internet din talaga, no? Na parang,
actually,
this space, this technology, we get to experience a lot of stuff and we get to immerse ourselves with different cultures, different traditions, different perspectives and ideas without having to leave the house. Yung mga ganon. Diba?
Totoo yan. Ang galing nga. Kasi parang, kahit na, alam mo yun, we're not physically with each, parang hindi naman tayo magkakatabi. Like, hello, sabi mo nga, like, Belgium. Like, ang layo ng Belgium sa Philippines, but you get to talk with them, to share ideas, to you know, share stories just through the internet. So, parang, isang aspect or isang product, ang internet ng globalization.
Technoscape, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, ayun. Ang galing po talaga.
Pero yun, sige, syempre dahil gusto ko malaman yung kay Mamaru, parang may something sa kanya.
Parang ayoko.
Parang di pwede yun, Bev. Sa tayong host.
Pero, okay, maraming salamat po sa
Thank you po for listening.
Thank you po.
Tinapos na yung pilot episode natin.
Oo, gano'n. Hindi. Pakinggan natin si Mamaru.
Ayan, okay.
Pero, before I, tell my own personal experience in regards with what Marko said, alam niyo ba yung series na Sense8 ng Netflix? Like,
pamatalino yata yun, babe.
Yung yung na-discontinue, right?
It was a discontinue.
Bakit?
Kasi the budget, they don't use
it enough.
Kasi ang synopsis ng Sense8 are 8 people from different countries na they get to experience what that person experiences without even seeing physically. So,
parang they were born on the same day, same time, right?
Yeah, para siyang ganun. So, kaya wala siyang green screen. Basically, they shoot different locations. For example, Africa, nandun sila. Tapos pupunta silang Korea, pupunta silang England, US. Parang like in relation lang na yung we get to experience what other people experience. Ganun din kasi sa Sense8 na even though you don't see yourselves physically, you know what's happening, you know, alam mo talaga kung ano nangyayari talaga.
But it was metaphorical, no?
Yeah,
how siguro it was like parang a commentary on globalization. Probably like my take lang naman, pero parang ganun yung dating eh.
On Marko's take lang daw. So
on my take.
Also besides the globalization thing, syempre meron siyang queer themes, political themes, racial themes, etc.
Okay.
Pero in my story, in my own personal experience with globalization, dahil ako, bilang mahilig manood ng pelikula.
Tama.
Ng pelikula.
Kita mo yun sa Instagram nanonood.
Like, it's just beautiful to see on screen in a 2-hour film how different cultures work. Specifically, I would like to comment on the Black culture kasi I watched a lot of films on na themes ang Black culture, Judas and the Black Messiah,
Yes.
yung kay
Green
Moonlight.
Book.
Green Book, di ko pa napanood actually, pero it has. Recommend ko lang siya sa'yo, pero hindi ko pa siya pinanood.
Okay, na-reveal po. Opo.
Do the right
Oh my
thing.
gosh, okay.
Pero like,
For context lang. At last year yata, nagpaano ako kay Mama Ru, parang nagpa-reco ako. So sabi ko, uy Mama Ru, baka na may mga alam ko mga Oscar winning or parang mga good recos na mga movie. At isa nga yung Green Book sa reneco niya sa akin. And ayun nga, pinanood ko naman siya. And it turns out nga pala ngayon, hindi pa pala niya pinanood kahit kaneko.
Cut
Sabi
her
niya
some
kasi-
slack or something. Marami siyang pinapanood. Oh.
Sabi niya kasi Oscar winning. Oscar winning siya. Kahit hindi ko pa siya
Pero
Hindi
hindi
na
naman
lang napanood ni Mama Ru.
So, yun. Basically,
Going back. Oo.
bring back like, with these 2-hour to sagad na natin yung 11-hour shout-out San Francisco.
Yes.
Shout-out Love Diaz. But, it's just beautiful to see na even though you don't experience it firsthand, like you're not there physically, but you see it on the big screen in your laptop, TV man yan, Netflix, HBO Go, kung ano man service na ginagamit mo, pirated man o hindi. It's also beautiful that, because of these, nagkakaroon kayo ng conversations about, these kinds of films, especially when it's very political commentary.
Yeah.
Nagkakaroon ka ng conversation na, oh, ganito pala yung nangyayari dito. Oh, this is what they experience. Specifically the film 12 Years a Slave. Kung familiar kayo sa 12 Years.
Yes, I know that one.
Nagkaroon talaga ng conversation about how we should not, let history back then repeat itself. And due to these kinds of films, nagkakaroon ng movements abroad na, naalala, ewan ko anong specific country, pero merong statue na tinapon nila sa lake because dahil nga very racial.
Uy, parang alam ko yan. Yeah.
Racist siya, tinapon nila talaga. And then,
I think it was hindi ba si Mahatma Gandhi?
Hindi ako sure kay Gandhi.
But pero alam ko parang meron din isang instance na parang tinapon din nila yung statue niya.
Alam ko.
Parang sa river or something. Parang ganun.
Yeah, and then yun nga, in terms of the film, syempre, you get to also put it in your personal life, how you work. Minsan na mapaisip kayo kung yung main character.
Main character vibes ng film. Gano'n.
Tapos,
Filingera.
you also use this in your work, lalo na kung filmmaker ka na, they
get inspiration.
Oo, especially with the French New Wave movement. Yun talaga yun lang talaga siguro ang peak ng globalization that nagkaroon ng auteur, nagamit ang auteur from different countries, nagamit ang jump shots kasi 'di ba French New Wave jump shots. And then in terms of Asian context, halatang-halata yung influence si Daddy Wong Kar-wai. Everything. And then it's beautiful to see just because of this one person. This one film can define a whole generation of filmmakers na influence yan. For example, if Wong Kar-wai, we have our very own Kapampangan director, Peter San Vargas.
Shout out.
Barry Jenkins.
Shout out po kung single ka.
Shout out po. Single po. Meron po poster ng Lishon dito. Hi, Direk, kung nakikinig ka. Pero yun din. Also with conversations with people from different countries, different servers, especially with Discord. Ang bagay niya yung Discord. We have Sinigang, we have Nerdana, we have a specific segment in Filipino Fashion Talk about films na, talaga nag-intertwine talaga lahat from French people to Asian people, to Chinese people, Korean people, from the US, different parts of the country. So it's really, really beautiful just because of something on the screen.
I just want to add, kaso medyo kanina pa siya, although yun nga, yung parang films are parang, dito, like, they get to be avenues or like instruments for political commentaries, ganyan. Kasi, for me, na parang art and film is an art form. Like, it gets to be political. It has to be political.
Yes.
And everything is politics, sabi nga nila, diba? Na parang, everything we get to do, everything we witness, everything we see is political. Ganyan.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
It's our human nature to be
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Parang
Political
pati yung
animal.
globalization, no? Kahit na meron siyang aspects of economics, politics, ganyan, cultural, social, inherently, like, in general, parang political pa rin siya kasi everything that we talk about stems from its politicalness, parang gano'n. So, like, in a sense, no, films help propel political ideas forward and in turn, help shape the global community further. Since syempre, dahil yung mga films, they're very accessible, nagkakaroon ng worldwide releases, nagkakaroon ng on-screen na mga theater releases, ganyan. So you get to watch them. And because of, yun nga, parang pag napapanood mo yung 2-hour film, ganyan, you get to analyze these messages, these metaphors, ganyan, and you get to digest these ideas. Aside from the the physical aspect of
yung
these
aesthetic.
shots, yung aesthetic value ng shots. You also get to experience and immerse yourself with the ideas being given by the film. So, yun, parang additional commentary.
Now, like, I would like to note na I think because of globalization, nagkakaroon ng diversity within a specific TV show or a film. Examples of these, Euphoria, Dominic Fike, meron na tayong Filipino
representation. Akong Pinay.
Tama. In terms of, I think, Korean drama startup ba?
Yeah, and I think Marvel na din dahil si Park Seo-joon. Nandun na siya.
Recently then, with the upcoming, yung nanalo, yung nominee for Oscars, Drive My Car, also has a very, very inclusive cast of members. Even in terms of Filipino films, inclusive pa rin siya kahit na, majority are Pinoys. Pero there's still films na, na kasama may mga from other countries talaga.
Oo.
True. And that's a product of globalization. Kasi, with globalization, we grant access to each other's communities to represent our very own culture, very own traditions, our ideas, beliefs, concepts, yung mga ganon. So, yeah, because of globalization, because of having this global village, para nagkakaroon tayo ng permission and approval from other countries, from other nations, na maipakita kung paano natin nakikita yung kanilang culture, ganyan.
Oo. Kung paano natin na-absorb.
And through this, nagkakaroon ng convergence, nagkakaroon ng bagong ideas,
exchange.
Nagkakaroon ng exchange. At the same time, nagkakaroon ng bagong creation, bagong innovations.
Tama. True.
So, yun nga, since we shared our thoughts, or our stories rather, with regards to our own versions or our own experiences of globalization. How do we see globalization now? Parang, how do we see the pros? How do we see the cons? How do we see the advantages and disadvantages? I want to know from you guys, and I'll share my own thoughts too. Ikaw, Jello, how do you see globalization now?
Sige, since ako yung mauuna. Siguro, ako kasi, wini-weigh ko talaga yung pros and cons. And for me, siguro at this point, mas madami na siyang pros kaysa sa cons. Kasi sa level ng natin ngayon, yung interconnectedness nga ng buong mundo, sobrang, kasi kung magkakaroon tayo ng isang theme song para sa globalization, yan ang Closer by the Chainsmokers.
Ay, ganun ka lang Closer ni Sawiri at ni Her. Pull me closer, gano'n.
Hindi, be. Dahil ang Closer ng Chainsmokers ay, so baby, pull me closer.
In the backseat of your?
Tama. Rover. Paano kung walang Rover, jeep na lang. Pero yun nga, so parang mas interconnected and intertwined na yung mga countries with each other. Like, not just in the cultural aspect, but also sa political. Like, nakikita naman natin may mga organizations or mga international institutions, like for example, the United Nations. That is a prime example of a product of globalization. And to think na, sige, isipin natin, what if kung wala yung mga gantong mga institutions? Like, ano na yung yung pamamalakad ng buong mundo ngayon. I would really say na parang hindi maayos and parang walang parang hindi moderated lahat ng mga galaw ng countries kung walang openness ng mga countries sa isa't isa. And ayun din, sa sa con, I think siguro depende na lang sa pero I think ang nakikita kong con dito when in terms of globalization is yung mga developing countries and yung mga poor countries. Like, in general kasi I feel like when it terms in economic growth, feel ko may mga naiiwan pa din in terms of, progress. Kasi, ayun nga, ang goal din naman kasi ng globalization, like, for example, yung free trade, ganyan, is magtulungan. Basically, magtulungan yung mga countries kung ano ba yung mga products na gusto mong, or like, kunyari sa Philippines, nag-export tayo ng rice, ng mga bananas, kasi dito tayo, dito yung mataas yung production natin. Pero paano naman yung mga countries na wala talaga? As in like, hindi sila, kumbaga, babang-baba na talaga sila. So parang I think yun yung isa sa mga con ng globalization is yung mga poor countries may tendency na mas maging poor pa sila. Ganun. So actually, globalization for me is a double-edged sword talaga siya. So parang, and I think kung nakikinig man ngayon yung mga political leaders natin sa podcast na ito.
Tama po.
Sana naman po, magtulungan po talaga tayo. Wala po tayong huwag ganon. Tulong-tulong tayo dito sa pag-angat dahil we'll only live in one country tuloy, one world, one earth, one universe. Gano.
Miss Universe ang ganyan.
Tama. Shoutout sa'yo, Miss Kat. Ayan. Ayun naman. Yun lang naman yung akin. So, ikaw naman, Mama Marko, ano yung pros and cons na tingin mo when it comes to globalization?
Personally kasi, the only pro or the only good thing I see coming out of globalization is that it does bring us together. It does, parang, it does bring opportunities for exchange, ganyan, not just trade of economic growth, development, but also cultures, ideas, concepts, no? But at the same time kasi, I see more of it as like a negative thing as of the moment, especially with the conditions we are in at the moment. Na parang, when you see globalization, how do you intend to use it ba? Na parang, kasi as of the moment, no, the only way I see why people can justify globalization as a good thing is because it intertwines cultures together. Pero kasi there are countries or parang we get to be in one global village. Parang ganun yung pinaka purpose or objective or goal ng globalization. Pero at the same time, do countries really need it right now? Especially with countries who have no strong sense of national identity. For example, the Philippines, tayo nga hindi pa tayo makapag-unite as one country dahil archipelagic tayo. How are we going to compete with uniting with the global world? Yung mga ganong bagay ba na parang it's hard to immerse yourself with the idea of globalization when your own country kasi or your own nation hindi pa ganun ka-advanced enough to compete with that idea. And of course, it's not just us who have these like very weak sense of national identity. It's just me though, na parang wala tayong ganung sense of national identity. A lot of countries have that as well. And with globalization kasi, tama yung sinabi mo na the poor countries get poorer and the rich countries get richer. Kasi when it comes to globalization, who benefits more ba? Diba? Na parang meron tayong US, meron tayong China, they get to be more parang
stronger, richer.
Yeah, they get stronger. They get really more parang
power.
Exactly. Na parang it's because of globalization. It's because we think we need to help these countries kahit na we need to give service to these countries. We need to to connect, yung mga ganun, na parang what's in it for us, na parang tayo, na pag-iiwanan na tayo, sila, lumalakas lang sila lumalakas kasi nagkakaroon ng parang taking advantage of.
Yeah.
Diba? Na parang
Tama.
US gets to colonize these countries, tapos uuwi tayong luhaan, uuwi tayong dehado. Sila,
ine-exploit tayo.
Exploitation, exactly. Parang nagiging bungad kasi parang nagiging pugad siya ng exploitation. And it's not something we like at the moment. Kasi there's nothing wrong with wanting a globalization. There's nothing wrong with wanting a united global village. It's just that the conditions we are in right now should matter more than what we want for the universe, or what we want for the world as of the moment. Kasi I think dapat, for me, it's just a personal ideology na parang we have to understand na we need to first solve the narrowest target available before moving forward. And it's gonna be a long process. So like, globalization right now, na parang pinupush na dapat globalization, ganyan. Parang, do we really need it? Mga ganon. Na parang feel ko, at the moment, no. Pero it's not a bad idea to entertain, yung mga ganon.
Yeah. To know that,
yun yung thoughts ko.
Alam, di ba meron yung quote na, before you help others, help yourself first.
Pahak. Self-love, ganyan.
Self-love.
Self-love 2022.
Tama po, no to jowa. Woo!
Go lang.
So yun nga, that's just me though. Pero ikaw ba, Mamaru, what do you think about the pros and cons, or like the advantages and disadvantages of globalization?
Pros and cons, no?
Hindi, yes or no.
I think,
One or two.
well, I mean, the pros would be, the interconnectedness, etc., etc., etc. Pero I think one thing that I see wrong about globalization is that yung alam ng mga bansa na interconnected tayo, and then parang it's a free pass to use other countries' cultures. Kumbaga, like, for example, white people. Shout out white people. They use Asian cultures. Yung black fishing, Asian fishing, and everything.
Black face, brown face.
Oo. I think the one moment would be yung I think it was a trend, Bella Hadid tsaka Kendall Jenner. Yung
oh yeah, that fox eye.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And then ngayon na like, they think they have a free pass to use every culture that
you want to be interconnected, yung mga ganon.
And nga, like,
inclusivity, really?
Which is ang saddening is imperialist countries ang gumagawa. Diba? Like, developed countries talaga ang bago who exploit Asian culture, specifically Asian culture, and that Asia is a big culture that, they not just get into but also exploit. Lalo na big fashion brands exploit developing countries. Shout out po. Beep. Beep. Beep.
Baka malibel tayo dito.
All these child sweatshops. Tapos yung, di ba, there's also a thing, may napanood akong documentary about veganism na a big problem of world hunger would be these brands na nag-exploit for these kasi they need a specific land na kailangan, and hindi matanim yun ng mga developing countries because ganyan, and it would lead to killings, to ganyan, it all lead to political things na, and I think that it's a bad thing kasi wala silang karapatan to use our culture because first and foremost, hindi nila culture ang culture natin.
Tama.
Tama.
Just because we, just also this one too. Alam mo yung sa YouTube, yung mga Americans try Pinoy foods for the first time.
Oh! Pinoy baiting!
Just because Filipinos find it, Filipinos find it
kasi
fun.
Kasi pride daw ang mga Pinoy.
Dahil nga, Filipinos are known very hospitable. Na, okay lang sa atin, pero it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. They don't have any permission to, to bait. Kasi, well, wala naman talaga ang culture ang...
Makaka medyo fredo ka doon, kasi baka...
Pero yun, I think that's a con. Yung con talaga would be the usage of cultures. And of course, exploitation. And yun nga, reiterating what you all said, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Which is sobra talagang sad. Kasi it's reality.
Yeah. And as of this moment na nagsasalita kami, guys, nangyayari to ngayon. Look around your surroundings. Nangyayari siya.
Just take a look at the internet, diba? Recent news. Grabe talaga. And it's even happening within our shores na parang, di ba? Parang ang lakas ng loob. Di ba? Parang hindi na siya okay. And of course, we get sad, we get frustrated, we get angry, pero we have to turn this into action.
Yeah.
Na parang we have to put this to good use. One example would be to participate in the elections. So parang we get to vote for a candidate who asserts the rights of the Filipinos, who would stand their ground on policies that involve asserting the national identity. Yung mga ganong bagay, di ba? Na parang that's one concrete action to actually help, di ba? In materializing these dreams and hopes of the Filipino people.
Yeah, ayan.
And in general, no, sa buong mundo, like, this is something we should do, di ba? Pero
not just in the Philippines.
Yeah, exactly. So, yun nga, no, as we, go back to the things that we've talked about. Ako, I really like this pilot episode kasi we actually shared a lot of insightful things.
Ang daldal po natin.
Tama.
Pasensya lang.
Ganyan ang pilot.
I think wala man tayong pilot pero natawid natin.
Nailipad natin.
Yes.
Fly high. Fly Marites.
Fly high Pinay. Gano'n. Pero yun, no, I would really, parang this is like a really, really nice podcast episode na we had, no? Kasi we talked about our own versions and experiences of globalization. We also get to talk about how we view globalization in general. How is it really good? Is it really bad? Is it somewhere in the middle? Is it something we need? Ganon. But like, it's a really nice conversation and I really loved talking about this with you guys. Pero syempre, di ba, sabi nga nila, all good things come to an end.
Tama. At ayan, dito na nga magtatapos ang ating episode. Of course, if you like this episode and podcast, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. And if may mga gusto kayong i-share or mga keme or mga violent reactions, i-comment nyo dyan sa ibaba para naman malaman namin ang tindig ng masang kabaklaan.
Sa masa. On that note, ngayong nalalapit na ang halalan 2022, huwag kalimutan maging mabusisi sa mga kandidato, i-assert at ipaglaban ang karapatang pantao, at huwag kalilimutang bumoto. Ayan!
Muli,
ako, ang cutie pie na dinadayo all the way from the land of samgyupsalan, mga nagtatayuhang kapehan at tunay kapampangan, ako, si Jello Serrano. Sino ka naman dyan, Mare?
Ang natatanging main, lead, at only vocals ng girl group na never nag-debut, ako lang to, Beb, Marko Soliman! Ikaw naman, sino ka naman dyan?
Hey! This is what dreams are made of. Ako nga ang kilalang sumisigaw ng Tajin dahil ako lamang ang nagmamay-ari ng bansang Tunisia, Malaysia, Philippines. Kilala rin bilang Mother Rune ng ABCOM 2A. Ako si Angelo Vasallo from the land of Lubao, Pampanga.
Uy! Anong oras na? Tama na! Tapos na!
OMG!
OMG!
OMG! Oh My Globalization!
Ayan, salamat!
Bye-bye! Mwah, mwah, mwah!